Witchfire is a first-person shooter with progression mechanics. You have your permanent progression in the form of stats you can level using Witchfire. You also have many types of gear, weapons, spells, and various other items, all of which can be leveled by performing specific actions with said piece of gear. Finally, you have the temporary bonuses you get during a run as rewards for killing groups of enemies. These are called Arcana, and they're picked from a random pool, although the game does offer a currency for rerolls. However, what makes Witchfire special has more to do with its numerous inspirations and how it tries to marry them into something that is honestly far more ambitious than any similar attempts in the past. It is, in more ways than one, also a Souls game. I know this has become a very loose term used to describe any game that highlights difficulty as a selling point, but trust me, it's a lot more than that here. For starters, your actions are limited by stamina, and enemies generally have well-telegraphed and punishing attacks. Also, each enemy can perform different types of attacks depending on the situation, and they seem almost like different chess pieces you have to learn to counter in their own way. Unlike in Souls games, the AI is good. It's great at flushing you out of cover, flanking you, changing tactics based on the tide of battle. You need to be constantly mindful of your position and not allow yourself to get surrounded or overwhelmed. In addition to learning enemy patterns, the minimap, sound cues, and off-screen attack indicators also play an important role in feeding you the information you need to make good decisions. Witchfire offers many of the mobility options of a movement shooter, but asks you to much more carefully consider when and how you use them. Dashing, jumping, double jumping, sprinting, sliding, using certain weapons, and getting hit, these all cost stamina. On the other hand, both stamina and spells are recharged by absorbing Witchfire from wounded or fallen enemies. Kill enough enemies without getting hit, and you now enter the focus state, which allows you to hit an otherwise invisible weak spot to stagger enemies. Witchfire demands you learn to read the battlefield and switch between aggression and defense at a rhythm that, to me, feels more like a Souls game and less like a movement shooter, although inspirations from both can be found. It is a lot more knowledge-based than most shooters, rewarding the observant and patient more so than the quick. While twitch reflexes can help, in the long run you just need attention, familiarity, and calm. The RPG elements in Witchfire, like in Souls games, aren't there to help you become godlike or overpowered. They are there to support you in a chosen playstyle. Another game that I believe Witchfire combat and progression could be likened to is Hades. To me, Hades is the ultimate anti-Diablo game. Your stats can help, but every set of tools requires an actual different playstyle. It's not just DPS in all the colors of the rainbow, like many ARPGs have a tendency to devolve into. All that being said, gear is very potent in Witchfire, and certain combinations will definitely give you a far easier time than others. Another way in which the Souls-like influence can be felt is in the atmosphere and aesthetic of the levels, as well as the bits of lore found in item descriptions. There is also quite a bit of environmental storytelling, and while there is technically only one NPC currently in the game, the devs have confirmed their plans for more. As of the latest major update, exploration is now a lot more interesting and rewarding, with the addition of secret areas hiding unique challenges and rewards. These secret areas are generally gated by the Gnosis stat, which from a lore perspective is your insight into the world around you and the witch's magic. In terms of gameplay, however, this is a unique stat that unlocks more challenging traps and enemies, while also giving you access to higher level gear, bosses, random events and encounters, and of course, the secret areas. There are currently 4 Gnosis levels available out of a planned total of 10. It is basically the game's current mechanic for difficulty scaling, and unlike Hades' heat system, Gnosis is ultimately mandatory in order to progress. Being in early access, the game is currently light on story and lore. However, what little there is does tease the imagination and reveal fragments of a dark, beautiful world consumed by conflict. The art direction alone is worth the price of admission, and although the developers have stated that story and lore will be among the last added elements before full release, the fact that this promise comes from the makers of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter makes me very hopeful. After all, that game had plenty of fragmented story and lore that came together in a hauntingly beautiful way.